All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay. Whoa, happy people. What a Sunday. Yep, over here in California. I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but we had to change our time, move it back and forth and all that. So today's Sunday, November 7th, we had to move our time backwards. So and I think I made a mistake. I have to confess. On the flyer, especially with my friends and family in Africa, Central African time and GMT, I actually made it 7 hours different for GMT and I think 9 hours. But it's actually +1 now. So 8 hour difference for those in Ghana. And I apologize for that. I didn't really think about the time change. Right. So how is everybody doing today? I'm sure everybody is having a good morning for those who are still in the mornings and good evenings for those who are in the evenings and a good day for those who are enjoying the sun already. We are happy to have Mr. Byb Kongo Bibene. I would have to let him pronounce the name. I don't want to butcher his name because in Akan, when you say Bibene, that's actually black man. So Bibini is black man in Chi, like in the Chi language. So I have my very good friend, Mr. Byb. I'll start with Byb and then he will actually do the pronunciation well. I know he is, one of the very creative minds in California here, he teaches in various schools, and he's done some amazing research on Nkisi. Okay, I just have to find those words right. Minkisi, right? Tell me that I pronounced it right.
Yes, Minkisi.
Okay,
You
all
got
right.
that one. Your first one right.
Okay. Oh, okay. One check out. All right. So today we're going to actually have some, interesting conversation about this particular topic, and of course, general topics within, how this particular thing relates to other art forms and all that. I wouldn't want us to really go into the details of it. Probably some might come up here and there, but if you need a lot of detailed information, then I would suggest that we connect with him personally, or I will also connect with him to get to African Live Art platform so that you can actually link up with him over there, and then he can give you a real breakdown of whatever we're going to discuss here today. Again, this is African Live Art. What we do is to connect Afrocentric content to universities, libraries, art organizations, individuals across the world. Try to create a one-stop shop website to do that, so that if you need credible information about Africa, you know where to go. Hit on www.africanlifeart.com and voila, we are there. So today we are going to talk about some real authentic African stuff. And how are you, Mr. Byb?
I'm good. I'm doing amazing. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
All
So
right.
yes, and I think it's going to be a good day.
Okay. And how do you pronounce your full name?
Okay, so it's you pronounce the name that you have in front of you, Byb Kongo
Uh-huh.
Bibene.
Bibene.
Bibene. I'm saying
Bibene.
that, yes, I say the name you have in front of you because I have another, my real name. It's a long name. It's impossible to
Oh.
pronounce. So I'm giving the word the easiest one to pronounce. So
Okay.
Bibene,
Okay.
or call
Okay.
me Byb.
Okay. So is there let's start from here. Is that what is the meaning of Bibine and yeah,
It's
of
I
your
am
maybe your name?
So I'm from two different ethnic groups. My mom,
Mm-hmm.
my father was
Mm-hmm.
from this ethnic group called the Tsangi people. in southern Congo, and my mom is from another ethnic group called the Congo. Actually, it's a Congo. It's not just a name as land, but it's a an ethnic group as well. So Bibene is just the wealth of the Tsangi people was the palm trees. Okay, so we just meaning like we have the wealth, but the wealth coming from the easy translations coming from the palm trees, because palm trees are what a palm tree is a big great symbol of wealth, because a palm tree can produce the palm nuts, can produce the leaves, and with the actual trunk of the tree you can make sponge, you can transform it to many sub products. And then when you have a land that's cultivating the palm trees, so it's a wealth of the land.
Wow. Yeah. And I know that palm tree, I mean, symbolizes a lot of things, because I know in Ghana we can get some nice gin from the trunk. The branches can be used for broom sweeping.
Yep.
You can get some type of
the worms.
I don't want to use worms.
The caterpillar, that's my mom's best food.
Oh, you like it too, huh? I mean, normally if your mom likes it, definitely there is a high possibility that you're going to like it too. Because mom and their children, definitely they want to give some good stuff to their children. So
well, don't freak the people out. People say like you
I mean, I didn't say worm. Actually, I didn't say worm because
I don't know what the English word to use. Yes, it looks some insect that goes like that, like a caterpillar.
All right. I mean, in Akan language, we call it akokono.
In the Congo, we call it sombe.
In sombe. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's
a
delicacy.
Welcome to Africa, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's go into I don't want to use the word art or artifact, or because some of these cultures where we see elements like you have on your background are very functional to people, to the traditional people, and they have specific use or specific uses of these items. Now, what is Minkisi in the first place?
It's a good question. So before I get back to the answer that question, I would like to share a little brief story. I think I was on a dance tour some years back, and during the break before we go to the next events, next country, I was in Paris, and I like to go in a museum. So I went to this museum called Quai Museums. And then I found many statues. Among the statues I found there, it was an exhibition over there. Was this the one you see in my background, in Nkisi Nkondi? In a singular, we say Nkisi Nkondi if it's one statue. But if there are multiple statues, we say Minkisi Minkondi. So I became fascinated with these statues. I saw them like, oh, this is incredible. And how come all my upbringing back home in the Congo, nobody ever told me about this. I didn't know about it. And the statues come from the land of the Congo, or the Central African land, the Kingdom of Congo. And I became fascinated. I wanted to learn more. So after the tour, I went back home. I started asking questions about if people knew about the statues in my family first. To my surprise, nobody ever heard of it. Nor my dad, nor my mom, nobody in my family could give me an answer. And that was the quest for me. That was the beginning of it all. The beginning of researching into the masks and statues, and eventually the meanings behind the statue. So what is Nkisi Nkondi? There is no one definition of Nkisi Nkondi, but the first one I will start, I will give, it's Nkisi Nkondi is the medicine. The short one I will say medicine. So people know, yes, it is shaped as, you may see a statue. It's a statue eventually, but it comes many shapes, okay? It's not just the one standing as you see. So it's a medicine, okay? And Nkisi Nkondi is also, it represents different symbols. It's a medicine. It's also a symbol of justice. Okay, so depending on the function, depending on how it's been activated or for what it's been activated. So the statues get activated to respond to a certain needs of the community. And this Nkisi statue is first of all carved by a specialist to give it a shape for the purpose it's going to serve. And then, and again, we have the person actually who was initiated to manipulate the vessel. It's a piece of wood, but it's a vessel. It's a vessel to many things. And the person who has the power, who has the right, or went for the initiatic process to actually have acquired the science to communicate with the other realm, or to really activate the statue as a vessel, is called the nganga. So nganga basically, in some culture, they call the nganga as a shaman man. The nganga can be in many cultures, like Babalan, in the Philippines. Many cultures have different words for a person who has the spiritual knowledge or spiritual science to communicate with the world of the spirits, to communicate with what our eyes cannot see. So what the nganga does, the nganga activates the statue to make it either a medicine to cure a disease, either to make it an element of justice, which means, let's say, today in this modern world, we use the term lawyer for if you want to enter into a business contract, you may see a lawyer, all right? And when you go to the court, you may have your lawyer ready so they can defend you. In this purpose, Nkisi can be also, a version of a lawyer. So you enter to a contract, or through a process. There is all I'm saying. There is a process to which then this Nkisi can become a lawyer, can become a judge, can become a judge, a spiritual judge, or can become a medicine to cure diseases. That's
Okay. Thank you. So let's go up. Let's go back a little bit. So from where you first had encounter with this particular with the Minkisi, and then we come gradually. So why do you think that your parents or people that you actually asked about this particular the Minkisi, why didn't they have any clue? Is it because its practice had been seized? Is it because people had different ideas about it, or what was the problem?
Yeah, the answer is the answer is simple. It's colonization. So it's colonization. When the first Europeans who landed on the land were the Portuguese, the Portuguese back in the 1700s. So when after the Portuguese, the French came, and then after the French, the Belgium came. So that whole territory of Central Africa used to be the Great Kingdom of Congo. Eventually, the other kingdom, like the Kingdom of Luango, taken and many others. I'm not gonna go to all details inside them all. And the greatest one was the Kingdom of Congo. So when the Portuguese came and the French came, eventually, throughout the years, we're not here to talk about that whole history. It's gonna be hours and hours of talking. That's all my studies. I did all my master's degree on this. Throughout, history, eventually with the rise of, the slave trade and the needs of, bringing, capturing Africans, bringing them, that was the beginning of colonization. The needs to actually seize the land, control the land. But the first thing to do to control the land was eventually, were battles, fight the people, but there were so many resistance, it was not necessarily possible. And a tactic that was used was to actually weaken the spiritual side of the people. So we had to be an attack on the Nganga. But to do that, you gotta find a way. So, and Christianity was the way. So, you know, capture, and, you know, the person, you know, in a war, the person has the most powerful weapon, you know, wins. And then, you know, the what's called the rifles. So get a weekend in Ganga, and, you know, make the kings, you know, force the kings to be, you know, become Christians and impose Christianity. And that divided the people, because not everybody wanted to embrace, you know, Jesus and all the gods. We don't know this God. We don't know this person. And then the divisions happen in the community. So there was like what they said, the sorcerer hunt, so witch hunts. So all the Ngangas, male or female, they had to be killed. So they became the public enemy number one. So they had to get killed. And eventually, in the process of colonization, it's about replacing one culture to another. It's about erasing your culture. That's what we are. You and I, we're speaking English right now. Luckily, we have all the languages we speak. All right. If I'm back home, I won't be speaking English, and I speak French. If I'm back home, I'm speaking French. I will speak those other 4 or 5 languages that I speak from back home. Right?
That's right.
So colonizations is just a process of, you gotta replace our culture from the French culture, the English culture, and I saw that comes with the educational system. So most people won't know more about like the European history or American history versus knowing their own history. That's just what it is, because all these stories, all this history is not taught in schools at all. So my parents come from that generations. You know, if they're born in the 50s, they're born into colonization.
Yeah.
That's, you know, if you're born into colonization, you are formatted, you are programmed into the educational system. You have to, you know, go to school and get these degrees. These are all European degrees, but in that model, it's French model or it's English model. It's nothing to do with your own history, your own practices. And matter of fact, being Christian, what the Christians say, anything that had nothing to do with Jesus is evil. So all the statues and masks, they got collected to get burnt. But what happened, instead of being burnt, we know all of them, the authentic ones. The ones I have, my collection is, you know, it's a fake ones. But the authentic collections, you find them in museums. Like I said, I had to travel in France, in Paris, to pay money to go see a statue that belonged to my land, you know. And same thing, I spent hours in a Metropolitan Museum in New York. There is like a collections of, and huge, actually, in New York, there are huge collection of Nkisi Nkondi, like 5 feet tall. The authentic one, the one that was activated or deactivated. And you're gonna find them. So now all these things you're gonna find it in museums scattered in Europe, in the United States, or in at private collections, because there are private collectors who also own these things. But when you go back to the Congo, there is no museum that own there. If you see the Nkisi Nkondi over there, those are fake ones. It's just you know, no heaven vessels. It's like what they call arts. These are not art. This is not art. This is a way of life, but there is a lot more to talk about. It's really, I can expound on it for
exactly. Yeah. So now the colonization has destroyed most of these traditional forms. Now, how were you able to make connections with the purpose of these traditions when, as it is, colonization had taken a lot of these, you know, traditions, and of course replacement with Christianity and all that? How were you able to find the content of these traditions?
Yeah, it's a good question. I made it my research. I had to search. Even now I'm still searching. I studied it. I had to study it. Even when I went back home, the thing with colonization, Africa is a complexity. Africa is not something you can just whatever this. It's such a complexity. And because of the multiculturalism, too many cultures, so many languages in Africa, even the Europeans, there was not just, it was impossible for them to replace those cultures with their own, because Africa is the most diverse, culturally diverse continent in this planet, right? So many languages, so many. So there was no way you go in deep. I mean, it's not possible. Even the small Congo, when I travel in my own country, I'm like, oh my God, every day, every year I discover things. So what happens, even if colonization did what it did, where I was able to actually find some lineage, some people who came from the lineage of the Nganga. We still have the Nganga, and we still have actually carvers who are carving this Nkisi. They're not carving them, they're carving them as an art form, you know, sculpture, art form, and tourists, they come to buy them, you know, branding collections. But however, they know about the story. They, you know, they're not just carving something they don't know. They know about the story, the history of these Nkisis. They can tell you exactly, oh, my grandfather or my great-grandfather used to do this. My great-grandfather was in Nganga. They would tell you the story. They explain to you. And there's many books also that have been written. Some, you know, those have been mixed people, Africans and Europeans who became fascinated with the statues, who did, you know, research around them. So I read the books, most of the books, and I questions. I met people. And actually here in California, in Berkeley, we have a Baba Ruben, who actually is a spiritual healer. He has Nkisi Nkondi in the shop, and he knows how to activate Nkisi. He's trying to get me to activate. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. He's trying to initiate me to that. But we have a spiritual healer, Baba Ruben, who actually has Nkisis in his shop in Berkeley, California. And I had many conversations with him, and he actually also took me to the land into different dimensions of spirituality, trying to make connections with the Nkisi, what it means. And even when they travel the land, leaving the land of Africa, coming to this land and having this perform in museums, and also us who are not in Africa right now. We are on foreign land, and we have the statue in foreign land caged in museums. They are all symbolism, they are all meanings there, but there is a way to make connections and connections within our bodies, the physical body and the static bodies. There is a way of activations. The process is possible, but the process is also scary for many people, and a lot of people don't want to go there. So,
like you right now. All right. So we'll come to the activation. When you started, you said that the Ngangas were actually, you know, murdered because they wanted to get rid of this whole practice and then infuse their own practice. Was it a misunderstanding of what this particular element means to the African people? Or again, is it just, okay, I'm your colonizer, I just want you to do this? Or it was a misunderstanding of the details of these practices to the people who performed it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's both. Misunderstanding, because many things African got lost in translation. First of all, the Europeans who came, they did not speak the language. So if they didn't speak the language, they counted on some. And we have to understand that when the Europeans came before or even colonization, there used to be amicable trades. The people of Congo, many people of Africa, they travel. It was not like Africa. Europe was an unreachable land. People traveled. For centuries, they were like, you know, back and forth travelings between those lands. The Kingdom of Portugal, kingdoms of
Portugal
France,
especially.
Especially Portugal, Kingdom of France. There was like for centuries, like for about 3 centuries, that was happening. The kingdoms, the kings in the Congo, they would send the the valet or, you know, the dignitaries to go there. There was trades between those people, the two people. So that it doesn't seem like it just came, colonization starting out of just like that. No, it was not like that. And eventually, I say both, the missing things being lost in translations. You don't speak the language, even if you learn one language, but if you move to a different territory, people are speaking another language. There are so many languages in Africa, as I say. You can count how many you have in Ghana.
Oh my God. Yep.
I mean, you
actually
have
9 languages officially spoken, officially studied in schools.
Here we go, 9
out
languages.
of 50 plus.
Here we go, 50 plus. So we got 60, and DRC is like 250 plus. Wow. So, and it means like you got lost in translation, but the symbol itself, because it was scattered all over, it was in the practice all over the land, and this is a huge land, and people rely to it. Eventually, not just in Nkisi Nkondi. Nkisi Nkondi was one of the powerful one. Nkisi means medicine. That's the translation from the Congo language. Nkisi, what it means, medicine. Nkondi, when we add the word Nkondi to it, then people know it's a medicine that hunts. Can be a hunter, like, holding a spear or something, can be a hunter medicine. So as a medicine, it can serve just that purpose. And then Nganga is just a doctor. Okay, if you have to use the Western expression, what is Nganga? Nganga is just a doctor. Doctor was using different practices. You go to the doctor here, they're gonna give you, ibuprofen, whatever they give us here in the hospitals. But over there, the Nganga, the ministry come, okay, what's they have to run the diagnosis. What do what do you have? Based on, you gotta present what are your symptoms? Based on your symptoms, they actually Nganga gonna prescribe you. They're gonna be Nkisi for you based on your symptoms. It's just like that. But it's the process, because this process is evolving a statue and the activation process, okay? And the activation process, what is it? That will come for me to explain, the physical of the statue. I can break it down.
Okay, we'll get to the activation.
But we're not going to activate anything. But I can express actually when you look at the statue, what do you see? And where does the medicine go, and what does go in it, and what are the processes like? Okay, like the body movement we call dance. What's the dance process coming to it? The singing and the connections, and so that's the healing happens. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. So I know that within the African cultural system or traditional system, there is the belief of the physical and the spiritual. So that means that the Nganga actually satisfied the spiritual needs of people as well as the physical needs of people, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
And so, and of course, in other cultures, it's just like, okay, what science says, what you can feel, what you can experiment at the lab, and then if you can't experiment at the lab, maybe then it doesn't exist. But we also understand the fact that our people did the science where you can actually, feel and touch, and of course the unseen as well, where we believe that people are spirits and they are also human beings. And so there might be things that are fighting both ends, either physical or spiritual. And I think that's how the Nganga was working, right?
Yeah, so the Nganga works on all 2 realms, so really connections of both realms. I haven't have in my study that, something that connects, one of the Congolese philosopher, Kimbwande Kifiao, he developed the concept of the Congo Cosmogram. Congo Cosmogram, where the bodies lives in a space, and as our living cycles connects, as in birth and in transitions, the passing, not dying. We say in transition because dying is not dying. So there is a whole study that I connect with the Nkisi in the 2 different realms, and the body moving in the space of the realms. The Congo cosmogony, we explain it through what we call the cosmogram. It's like different figures. I hope I can have a chance to share that with the people. Eventually I'm trying to use the Western words like cosmogram, but we call it the Dikenga Kianza Congo. But in the Western world, we're gonna say cosmogram, just different shapes of figures where the body moves in the space as birth, we grow up, we get old age, and then until we transitions and coming back and living different cycles of life. So the connection for us, there is always a connection between this realm and the other realm. So okay, because we are spiritual beings by essence. We know we are mysterious beings also by essence. You know, science, what is science? Science is not necessarily 1 + 1 = 2.
No.
if we think math is that, then we get it wrong because yes, we in a Western side of the world, we have to explain it a different way. But what we do over there too, we know how to explain it because we've been, this party's been around for centuries and centuries, you know, before Jesus era. So we know how to explain it. Just like today, everybody's using acupuncture, but there was a time during the invasion of China, acupuncture was almost banned. Nobody believed like you're gonna stick a needle somewhere here and then you're gonna heal this, you know. Now everybody, you know, in the Western way they're using acupuncture, but look at the statues. You see all the nails around the statue. If you look at in my background, each nail in the statue, each nail represents a person that was healed. Each nail represents a
person that was healed.
Each nail represents a situation that was solved, a problem that was solved.
And so there is an empirical evidence of even the potency of that particular.
The nail you see on the body of the statue, in the beginning, there was no nail in the body of the statue. As we go, as the Nganga, the doctor is solving a problem, they say there's a process of insertions. So the healing starts, the final process of the healing is comes from the insertion of the nail inside into the body of the statue. So when the Nganga finish all the process, the nail that goes inside the body of the statue, the Nganga asks you go home. That's it. I say this story like this is true. I know I'm a professional dancer, been dancing forever, but there was a time I got injured. I tried medicine, I tried all kind of different things. It didn't work. And you know, as you know, when you're a dancer, your worst fear is to get injured.
Oh yeah.
Because your body is what you do. And I was in the middle of a tour. And when I was home, I was recommended to go see a Nganga. This Nganga doesn't work with Nkisi Nkondi, but he works with a different kind of Nkisi. So I went to see this Nganga. He, you know, I brought there my knee, my jaw, my right knee was really bad. And then I got there for, you know, years back. And then he touched my knee and he, you know, he said a few things and then, you know, he just chewed on stuff. And then this part on my knee, you know, it's going to be disgusting for many people. But he chewed and then he took this Nkisi, you know, this was not a wooden Nkisi, and then he tapped it on my knee and then asked me to go home. That was it. Until now, I've been fine. So, so how would they explain me trying, you know, Western medicine, everything, you know, whatever, you know, physical therapy, that did not do it. But going to the Nganga and then he did what he did, and I'm fine. I walk on my feet. So the process for the Nkisi Nkondi now is the nail. You put the nail in the body based on the process that was previously done, which means added a song. It's I don't know, the dance steps. It's all codified. It's really specific codes. You develop, there are specific codes that get developed or get asked the audience to do a ritual depending on the nature of the problems. And remember also something to know, these statues have different sizes. They're not all the same size. Some statues can be, you know, they can be, I would say I have a hard time with inches and, you know, I use centimeters, okay?
Oh, yeah, centimeters. Yeah, in Ghana, we also use centimeters.
Yeah,
I don't know what inches.
Have inches, I'm not sure what's going to be. But in centimeter, you can have a Nkisi that is 10 centimeters. You can, you know, you can wear it, but you can have Nkisis for depending on the problem. If you have like a drought and, you know, bad harvest in the community, the Nkisi can be built to be like, you know, 5-6 feet tall. So depending on the problem, depending on the situation, depending on the nature of the disease, that gets carved and gets activated to actually bring the solutions to the nature of the problem.
Wow. I think for the most part, we have been made to believe that anything that is ours is actually demonic. And I think that this largely has been propagated by some of the movies that we actually watch, where always there is the when the scene of the traditional priest comes, normally what you see is that the person is having some carved objects, and then they have a needle, and all they are doing is this, to the needle, and then on the other side you will see somebody dying out of that. All right. Hi, Luis. So most often it's like the picture has been painted in such a way that anytime, even in the movies, all right, the movies mostly, that we experience in the continent, I'm not sure about currently, but I think, in the 1990s, 2000, early 2000s, the movies that were coming out, mostly, especially local, I mean, using of the word local is a little bit somewhere, but the indigenous movies that, are being shown project traditional values as satanic, as evil. Anytime somebody is going to the shrine, there is the picture of, okay, but there is something bad, the person is going to do something bad to somebody. So there is no, there's no room for people to actually deconstruct and actually understand what really goes on within that tradition, within that practice. As you explained, and as you have also experienced, that you went there with maybe some ligaments torn or whatever, and you had your healing. Now, I think that the discussion should be how the healing took place, rather than an outright, okay, this is evil and all that. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, it's all by design. It's when we are, it's almost like being on the welfare. It's a ratio of power. It's a power thing. Hollywood has done a lot of damage into portraying world cultures in a certain way, which is funny. When I look at traveling to Europe, you come to discover, yes, we talk about Africa statues, but the same thing existed in Europe. When we talk about the Europeans, they have still the traditional dances. I always ask my Caucasian friends, you got to do research about your ancestors. You'll be mesmerized to find that in Europe, when we talk about this culture of haunted house, it's not just random, haunted house, it's Halloween. No, it's we are haunted houses, abandoned villages in Europe. All right. There are cultural celebration of masks and statues and the masquerades. In Europe. They are there too. So for some reason, they try to suppress their own culture. And, I don't know why, what is that? But, today we see that with voodoo, when many people, when you say voodoo, it's always the negative image that comes in the head first. Voodoo, oh my God, it's voodoo evil. Somebody's gonna die. It's voodoo, but voodoo is not that. I'm not an expert in voodoo, but I know it's a really spiritual practices. It's a way of living. It's a way of connecting the body with the other realm. It's a way of healing different healing processes. Challenging the body, being in a different state, and using symbolism, elements of water, elements of the nature, things like that. All right, it's just in a different way. Many cultures may use them, but just different and called different in terms of the processes, and also respect to the nature, respect to the divinities. God, yes, God is unique. Well, maybe, yeah, but where, in what space, how you define it. So these are different. Okay. But for me, I would say like, it's really difficult, difficult in terms of, if you live in a world that is, Christian dominated, or having Islam dominated, and then this, this, I won't even call it religion. These other practices are, I think today it's seen as, I mean, even in the Congo, people, if you put in many homes, if you put a statue, you hang a statue, a mask, oh my God, remove it. But if you hang a picture, of Jesus, that's okay. And you may see 10 pictures, but then you say, come on, guys, you see 10 pictures of Jesus, but each face is different. Well, these are, movies, Jesus movie. Oh my God, Egypt, you see all this picture in movies of Jesus. There is no one single Black person in the movies of Jesus happening in the Middle East and somewhere. So it's all awkward in some ways. When you look at the geography, you look at Egypt, you look at where, the Middle East is situated, you read history, you see the Nubians, which is Sudan today, you see Ethiopia, you see, the power dynamics, you see, what's called the Persia, back into the great civilization of Persia, which in Iran today, and but the commerce and it's a thing like we gotta travel a little bit in time to know what the world was and how people did these practices with way before we know such a thing as Jesus or Christianity, so things like that. But and again, I was asked to bring it back to the people, knowing a little questioning and looking for, what can be called the truth within the land. Okay, so.
Yeah. All right. So now let's come to activation. So I'm not sure whether you have one of your statues there, but how is that activation done in the by the Nganga? But before you go there, I must say that this is brought to you by African Live Arts. African Live Arts, we connect African artists, instructors, historians, tourist centers, tour guides to universities, art organizations, individuals across the world, libraries and all that. So if you want to have an authentic experience of any topic within African Live Arts, within Africa, you can check out our website on www.africanlivearts.com. And you will definitely find somebody. If you don't find what you want, we have our email address beneath, info@African Live Arts. You can send out an email and definitely will find somebody who might be of who might address the topic that you want to have with your students. So don't hesitate to go on our website, and then we can collaborate and then talk later. All right, so activation, let's go.
Okay. Again, I'm not Nganga.
Oh, of course.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a spiritual. I've never gone through the initiating process. That's I need to put that out there very clear. What I'm gonna be saying comes just from my own research and also from my conversations with the actual Nganga and the actual bearer of culture, spiritual culture. Okay, so the Nkisi, yes, I have my statues, but I have a conversation with you. You didn't want me to go too deep. I'm like,
yeah, that's okay. Yeah. If anybody wants a real detail of the whole thing, yeah, they have to actually connect you and then pay for the service. I am in for that. I'm in for that. Yeah. So that's okay. That's okay.
So if you look at on my in my background, for instance, the statues in my background, you see that one, the big guy has like a box in the abdomen, in the belly area, right? So that box is a container, and inside that container, that's where we put the different combination of elements that will form the medicine. So depending, again, I say depending on the symptoms of that the person presents, if it's a disease, of course, the Nganga will know what to put in that box, inside that box. In Congo, we call it the kudu, what you put inside. And then you're gonna go in nature, inside it can be, different leaves, specific leaves. It can be roots of trees, specific roots of trees, and specific trees. Everything is very specific. It could be, like dirt, dirt can be like clay, clay can be found in a different, leaves can be found in different time. It can be in the morning, at dawn, at dusk. You gotta collect this clay, you gotta, it can be rubber, It can be feathers of birds. It can be feathers of birds. It can be a skin of an animal, but not any kind of animal. It can be, sometimes it can be porcupine. The porcupine have this sharp bone. Sometimes it can be a little piece of a porcupine sharp bone. It could be sometimes like claws of a bird. It can be an eagle. It can be an hawk. It can be just like, and again, I say birds, they have many varieties of birds. So depending on the symptoms, they know which kind of bird, which kind of claws, or which bird that they want, they're gonna find it. And then there is that mixture, that combination, again, depending on what they've been sold, they combine it, they're gonna be inserting the nganga, will insert it into the body, the kudu, and it's gonna seal it. It's gonna seal it with different kind of substance. It can be wood, it can be we have this substance, it looks like comes from this tree, it looks like a little rubber. They're gonna seal it, okay? And then you see those bright eyes, okay? Those bright eyes, they look actually, and the eyes, to put something that is can be bright like that. Sometimes it can be glass. They can put glass or something that shines a little bit. And depending on what they're solving too, sometimes they can, behind those eyes, they also insert stuff inside those eyes. So their medicine thing, a combination or mixture, there is a mixture, the mixtures that go inside those eyes, and then they seal it. And then the shape of the statue, like you see, also depends on what's being solved. It can be the statue being standing akimbo. Some statues are shaped like a two-headed dog, like a dog with, two heads looking into this realm and looking into the physical and the metaphysical. And we know the physical offsets the metaphysical. And it could be also, sometimes it's shaped like an animal, a monkey. We've seen sometimes it's shaped like, they are different. I would recommend for those who are here, if you can tap in the chat like Nkisi Nkondi, I would just recommend people to do a simple Google search and see the image. You can see all kinds of all shapes of the Nkisi Nkondi. And eventually for us, or for someone who know like me, and I know which ones each which and which one serves what. And they all comes also with different kind of names, like Nkisi Nkondi Mabiala, Nkisi Nkondi Manganga. I know which one is which and which one serves what, okay? And so once that's sealed, and what happens, before the nail gets, the nail that activates, before it gets inserted, the nganga may ask, the doctor assistance nganga, if that was the case, or the nganga may ask the community if it was like a bigger problem where the entire community was to get involved. We're gonna get involved around the statue. They will be singing and dancing. Okay, that's why I say in this dances we call African dance, and it's not just dance; it's movement. It's movement. This dance is movement that is carving history. Movement that actually coming in place, or it's all developed or created really with a purpose. All right. So what's happening there in those clapping and those singing, they are chords. The nganga would ask people to move in a certain way. So if we have to clap, it can be 1 3, it can be. So the number of counts you clap, it's not random. Everything has to be done right. And the way you shape your hands also has to be, it's not random. Either you clap like this, or the ball, or there are different ways. The way, the position of your hands matters. The position, you really add it's year, or it's year, it's year, it's year, it's year. It all really matters. And you have to get it right. So if it's a cap, makumbulu, as we call it, you have to keep it like that, continuous. Don't mess up with the sound. If it's not right, it's not right until you get it right. And the nganga is ready to activate. So if you have to be clapping and then stepping, moving your feet, you gotta move your feet. And what I call the dikenga, the cosmogram, you gotta move in, because they're gonna tell you, the nganga, exactly how do you move your body, how do you dance. It's one step right, left, forward, and backward. What you're doing, you gotta do it right as you're clapping, as you're moving. And also we have another motion. Usually I do this, when I do a lecture demonstration, I will demonstrate all of this, but hey, we on Zoom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
So, and then there could be some other processes. We do jumps. When we jump up and down, connecting this realm and other realm, and then, the process has to be right. You can be jumping for an hour. You can be jumping for 2 hours.
So all that is trying to find the correct frequency to use, English term, to find the correct frequency
when the Nganga feels it, when it's the right time, and then it takes the nails, insert it into the body. Once that's done, it's done. Okay. And then they ask you to stop. And again, it's not always all the time like you gotta dance or move, depending on the magnitude of the issue, the magnitude of the disease. And different, it could be sometimes there is no singing, sometimes the Nganga himself just does what we may call incantations. It just means that he's talking. He talks because he communicates with the statue. For us in a moment, it's moving bodies, it's not static body. It's a statue. Yes, it's wood, but it's not move, it's static, it's not static, it's moving at all time. They communicate. And the vessels that get called here too, it can two kind of spirits here. It can be the actually calling on the spirits, like we call them, well, the title say the divine, calling on divine spirits. It can be the memory of our ancestors, the spirit assistant of our ancestors, because we still believe, we believe in the presence of our ancestors assisting us. That's why we call on them ancestors. We still honor the memory of our ancestors. At least for those who know their ancestors, you gotta know who your ancestors are too. You gotta know them. Sometimes we say ancestors, but who are your ancestors? You gotta know who are your ancestors. You gotta know their names. All right, know your ancestors, know their names. And sometimes we also believe in the spirit of different animals. All right, each family. Many families have what we call the totem, the spiritual spirit animal. Okay, the spirit animal can be, it can be any kind of animal. I had a heated debate on, Instagram, I believe, and people were thinking about dogs and that. I'm like, oh well, I think I'm really careful about that, because I know in the Western world they value dogs and cats in a way that like in my culture, we don't necessarily, many cultures, they don't value dogs and cats like that. So some cultures is a cow, some cultures is a deer, gazelle, some cultures is an elephant, some is a giraffe, some are like porcupine. So if in my family the totem animal is a porcupine, then the porcupine is sacred. You cannot come and say you're gonna try to eat a porcupine. It's gonna be offensive, or you're gonna try to eat a chicken, because I'm saying roosters, and it's roosters in some families. Rooster in many cultures in Africa, in the Congo, a rooster is a big symbol of spiritual symbol. We don't just capture a rooster and killing a rooster just like that. So we have to pay respect to like what are the sacred animals for many people. And it could be a dog, it could be a cat. We call the cat the mbala. Some ethnic group they like the mbala, the cat is a sacred animal. Okay, and some other places too, like in the Bembe ethnic group, the cat is food. So I mean, I'm gonna say it like that. I'm sorry to offend some people. It's just what it is. If you travel the world, you travel culture. Some people are gonna see, hey, we eat cockroaches here. They eat grass. We eat grasshoppers. I've seen it. I've been to South Korea. Hey, I've seen it. If the fried cockroaches, it's a thing. Grasshoppers is a thing. It's food. But if you are sensitive and you don't think what's sacred to you, this doesn't mean it's sacred to everybody.
To somebody else. Yeah, that's right.
So, and then the spirit of these animals also get called on too, depending again on where the Nganga is operating and which village or which town, which community it is. Okay. So if the sacred animal is, let's say, a dog, then the Nganga may call on the spirit of the dog if that spirit is appropriate to actually produce cure for that, whatever it's going on, for that disease. Is that making sense? So that's all the processes.
So different totems or the spirit of these animals could be responsible for the healing of specific diseases, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm. Wow. 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 That's awesome. Uh, okay, so let me roll back a little bit. I mean, with all this information that you've given, it shows how powerful these Inganga were. Some have said that if our spirituality was that powerful, why then why was it captured? Why were other influences, able to, replace our authentic, cultures? What would you say about that?
Yeah, I heard the countless of time. I'm not one of this person who gonna say, yeah, we were the most powerful. We had it's a yeah. Well, we are. I don't have the right answer to that, but I know a power dynamic change.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when you you look at history, you can ask the same question. Hey, what happened to Egypt?
Mm-hmm.
People only remember the pyramids today,
Mm.
and the loaded mummies that we can find, the dead bodies in museums, really
Mm.
dead bodies in museum, because I mean, when we call them mummy, it sounds fancy.
Yeah, that's right.
It sounds fancy to say mummy, but it's really dead
Uh-huh.
bodies. People go see dead bodies, or loot them, or we can say what happened to Mesopotamia. Persia was also, became in the cycles. Civilizations have dominated on its term. Like we can say, hey, what happened to Rome?
Yeah, right.
What happened to Rome? Number
Mm-hmm.
one power at a certain point of history. Okay,
Mm.
what happened to Portugal? It's a broke country today.
Yeah,
Okay, what
yeah.
happened to Sudan? The Nubians,
Mm-hmm.
Timbuktu.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to
Yeah, Mali
Timbuktu?
Empire,
The
Ghana
Mali, the
Empire.
Mali Empire, one of
Mm-hmm.
the greatest library in the world.
Mm-hmm.
What
The
happened to,
Sumangurus and the rest.
yeah, what happened to China at some point of,
Mm-hmm. History,
so
yeah.
at some point of history. So
Yeah.
I think there is something that happens within the kingdoms,
Mm-hmm.
within the empire,
Mm-hmm.
that weakens them.
Mm.
And the external force is just a result.
Let's
For me, I
capitalize on
think
that.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
result of what already started to weaken the kingdoms. And
Mm.
then when it comes, it just happens as a result. And then
Yeah.
the shift happens. And
Yeah.
we're gonna see, and we are right now, I don't know which the power nation today, I don't know what nation it is, but let's we won't be here around, but if 1,000 century later
To come.
to come,
It might be a different
it may
narrative
be,
altogether.
we don't know it's gonna be, what is it gonna be. So we always,
Yeah.
history teaches us so many lessons. If
Yeah.
you look, you see, I remember this king of I think maybe Qatar in the Middle East, they're so
Mm-hmm.
wealthy now. And you got asked about, the future now, you guys doing so well, and what you perceive your future like. And like, well, we're just striving to make a future bright, but as
Mm.
to be alive and to be existing in the space as we are today, uh, we don't know that.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, people
Because
have also said
empires have come and go,
definitely.
civilizations have come and go, and have come back. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's right.
I don't have the
Some
right
people have
answer.
also argued that so when our frequencies were right with the divine, we had strong defense system that actually prevented anything from actually conquering us. But then when we allowed ourselves opened and then the infusion came in, then that was also one aspect. Some people argue that. What do you think about that?
I mean, I will not. I think it's a factual. I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but one of the many reasons. One of the many reasons. I just see, like, let's look at, like, in this modern time, you see a country that is doing well. They have, sometimes they have a great president, a great leader who is leading the country, but when the leader passes away and the direction that the country was going to, it starts shifting to, going the other way instead of going up. So I think those are things within and within us. And again, when we're dealing with this, spiritual, I say we are like the the chessboard of the gods. Yeah, like the chessboards of the gods. All right.
All right. So I'm sharing something. You gave us an assignment to go and check something on Google. So I've done due diligence. So this was one of the items that you spoke about, right? Where it looks like a dog, and then one face is on one side and the other is on the other side, right?
Yeah, exactly. You see that, and you see another one is looking like actually representing like a human being, but it's two-headed, or it's an animal, looking like a dog. And I have, I see that's a video of myself with my own collection, collection.
Yeah, and Byb is also on YouTube, so maybe he will give his YouTube details. So if you need some content, you can also get it on
you can find me, and you can see different ones from big to tall, and the ones with fewer nails, and the ones with lots of nails, like that guy. Oh my God, lots of nails.
So I mean, this is the first time I'm actually hearing this, because growing up, the movies that I watched, as I was telling you before, when I saw something like this, I thought that, okay, the nail that is actually penetrating into the sculpture is actually killing somebody, because that was the picture that was painted, right? So you will see in the movie, somebody will go to this spiritual person, they will pick, and of course it's different in different traditions, but I'm using this as an example. They will pick a nail, they will pick a doll, and then pierce the doll with a nail, and right from there you will see that there is a projection of that person who has been pierced dying somewhere. So it gives you the narrative that, okay, when you do wrong to somebody can just take you to this juju person. He will take a nail, get your spirit into either a bowl or whatever, and then you're gone. So I mean, until today, I didn't actually. Of course, I was doing some research, over the week, and then I saw you explain some of these things. But I mean, that was the knowledge that was there.
But however, let me put this to you, because Nkisi, when it serves as a spirit of justice, it can happen. In what instances it can happen? Let's say you and I, we are business partner, we want to open a business, and then we want to have come to a contract in small.
And you decide to cheat me?
Yes. So you go see the so you guys can see the Nganga. Okay, Nganga, we are studying the business. This is our contract. And then we want the Nkisi to, sign the contract in front of the Nkisi. And then these are the terms of our contract. So you come to agreement on the terms of our contract. And then we can decide if someone breaks that contract, what should happen to the person who breaks the contract. So you get to decide. You want them to get sick. You want them the business to go wrong. You want them to die. You want them
to get pot belly.
So the terms of your contract, what you decide is what's gonna happen to you. So if you decided like the person has to pass away, then that's gonna happen to you. So,
okay. So is it gender specific? The sculptures that are used for
I have had this question too. It's not gender specific, but in some instances it is. In some instances, I have it somewhere when Nkisi is actually shaped with as clearly a woman, like holding a baby, like holding a baby or feeding a baby. It has happened too. It's not gender specific, and gender it's a really interesting thing. We don't talk,
Of course.
gender is
I
very
understand where you're coming
very
from.
very Western concept. You know, so it's really not gender specific. It's not, it's let's say asexual. It's just not. But in some instances, some cases have been, you can see clearly, oh, this is like a woman who's giving you know, feeding the baby, or a woman, you know, and in those instances, which it may mean that there probably were women in the community, or women was going through some issues, and then they needed to bring attention to that particular woman in particular family. Okay, so you know, yeah, so it has happened. I've seen it in, but it's not, as you see, you know, some are shaped like dogs. You can see many cases like dogs, like monkeys,
that's right.
different things, different. Yeah, so it's nothing to do with gender at all.
Okay, so the sculpture itself, without the piercing of the nails, does it have any cultural, traditional significance to the way of the physique of the people? Does it have any correlation?
I mean, it could, as you can see when you look at the, you know, like facial features, you know, right away you say this is Africa.
Yeah,
because
right,
you know, they didn't carve it out of something they didn't see. You know, they carved the facial features are like, you know, it looks like the, you know, people, like, you know, when you look at the lips, you know, the eyes and the cheeks, you know, you can see this reminds you, I think it just reminds you right away, it reminds you of Africa, right? The Bantu people, or, you know, the identity is there. It's not, I don't think the purpose was because of the identity, it was just because that's what it was. You know, we are in this land, we are, you know, representing, it's us, it's representing us. It's a different spiritual component or parts of us, but we are putting out here. It's not, you know, they're not thinking about, you know, Asians, or, you know, no, it's us, it's happening in the land. So it's just happening as a natural process right there. What was that? What else was I going to say?
Okay, whilst you're thinking about that, how have you used this research that you've done to improve your artistic work?
Yes, I have done it. Since you are on Google there, can you please type Congo Cosmogram? I can put in the chats.
Let's go. Congo C or K?
With K.
Okay.
C is Congo with C is the colonial Congo.
Oh, got you.
Yes, Congo is being with K.
And you said Congo
Cosmogram.
Cosmogram. Okay.
So if you have that, and then I will allow me to explain my my research, my movement research, and also the religious, spiritual, and religious practices allow me to actually bring about the movement studies. Okay, another component of my research is this one here. This is the Congo Cosmogram. We call the Kikenga Canadian Congo that explain the cycles of life. And I have my own also research design that I make it's a little bit more complex. That's this than a little bit more complex than this, but hey, just approach me for a different conversation.
Yeah. If you want deeper conversation, then we have to connect with you. That's right.
But the simple way is the Congo Cosmogram. That's this dots in the mid, you know, that is you know, the body, and the body here, the cosmogram that we carry, the genesis, and you know, the beginning of the word. For us, you know, down in the Congo is the belly button. The belly button that's, you know, bear the connections, you know, between the, you know, the umbilical cord, the baby, the mother,
That's
but
right.
really the belly button, if you look at in the traditional dances in the Congo, you see that the waist is almost the fundamentals.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see that.
you can move your waist, almost you cannot dance. So
Yeah. Is that peculiar to all Congolese dancers?
pretty much.
Mm.
Pretty much, not all of them. There are some dances where the pelvis is not that
Activated.
activated that much,
Mm.
but in general, yes.
Mm.
So the Congo Cosmogram, I use this as the beginning of of the planets or the universe, also the beginning of movement, the beginning of life.
Mm.
And now how the body moves, the body moves in it just as our lives in a cycle of in our each of us cycle.
Mm.
And then the movement for me is inspired for this. There is a religion in the Congo, we call it the the Bulamananga.
Mm.
Bulamananga religion. So
Mm.
in that religion, the practice of connection between this realm and the other realm is made out of some, jumps and stepping
Mm.
right, stepping left, forward and backwards means sunrise and sun peak and sunset,
Wow.
and the present as I'm stepping, I'm all jumping, and then the future, but the past, I don't forget my past. And
Wow.
then I have my hands in this shape, and then I'm executing the jumps in the space, and I'm moving. Sometimes I'm turning, and that can go on for hours.
Wow.
And you start slow until you make that connections. Then the transcendence, full process of transcendence, you almost dissociate your body from your spirits,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's not your body anymore. You can do that for hours, and then you go.
Mm.
And and eventually you gotta get initiated with that as well. I don't do it as deep just because and the body can go in trance. And
Mm-hmm.
that trance, if you are a man, you're training, you don't have the mastery of the
That's right.
forces. If you don't have
That's
the
right.
mastery of the forces, and then it throws you places and you can get hurt.
Yeah,
So you gotta
that's right.
have the process. But for me, I study now the movement, okay, as a
Mm.
choreographer. Then I'm
Mm-hmm.
studying the movement in space, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
utilizing it. I'm utilizing the culture to actually connect with what it actually mean to be dancing in what we call the Congo Cosmogram, or the
Mm.
Dikenga Kyanza Congo. Nza meaning
Mm.
universe. So that's where
Mm.
I'm placing my movement in that space. And then it's all process of explorations of moving and, left and right. And that gets done counterclock, okay? It gets
Mm.
done movement. You can see the arrow is going counterclock. So
Yeah.
if it goes counterclock, then you have two universes together, but it goes really counterclock, or
Mm-hmm.
they're connecting in some ways, both counterclock, but depending on where you are perceiving it. So it's all by perceptions, it's all about feelings, it's all about um connections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Because I mean, when I teach dancers as well, um, I also bring into bear that philosophical underpinnings, within the dance forms. And if you go in counterclock, the concept of life and continuity within the African traditional belief system. And if you're also going clockwise, the remembrance of unfortunate days or down days, or remembrance of um maybe bad head-ons, right? So what we want to do is to just move forward and move as a unit and move, with everybody together, because of course I am because you are, you're right. So that concept is also in there within that circle. Wow, that's interesting. Anyway, so
Yes.
we are coming to question time. So everybody on Facebook, on YouTube, on Zoom, if you're ready with your questions, you can check your reactions, raise your hand, and then we can ask some questions. But whilst people are thinking about their questions, have you made any choreography with this particular idea? And
Oh
how did
yes, the piece was presented in I think May of 2018, and we had a huge cast.
Wow.
And it was evening long. It was it was big. It was huge. It was huge, but huge not in a sense of the performance was huge, but huge in the sense of bringing Black African descent people, because here they say African American Africans, but hey, but bringing African Black folks and then African descent people in the same space and speaking about this, it was huge because everybody got to connect about a piece of the ancestry. And there was a lot of emotions, a lot of a lot of things. We had in the cast one of the person that you also know, Al Kebulan, Kebu, the brother Kebu.
Yeah,
he worked with you at Jamanokura.
Yeah.
So it was
and I think Ozo.
Uzo, a lot of people, and
Uzo was actually the one who actually asked me to be part of it. So I think it's 2018, not 2019.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah,
2018.
And it was a process to have everybody in this piece. I haven't had one cast member is actually this dance training is ballet. He does ballet, and then he found himself in the project, which for me was like mesmerizing to see this person, his art form is ballet, and then he got into this kind of world. I'm like, how you can stand it? But and you can see the transformation because we are talking history, we are revisiting, we are looking at images, we are questioning, asking ourselves question and learning, and you can see even this African descent brother, African American brother who's ballet trained, only ballet trained, that's his thing. And then you see the transformation in its own form, in its own body, and embracing this art form, which is not lines like that anymore.
Exactly.
Curves, as
more curves. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then you profess, you know what I'm talking about. So
that's
it was
that's
interesting to see that, and eventually handling also emotions of people they're not discovering the part of the history that was not taught to them that they should know. And all this also their own judgment around what was and what was not. So you're allowed to look for facts, look for what it was, and that not judge it, but really look at it from its own perspective, not from any other perspective. That's the kind of work like we have to do. Like how can you look at this thing from just that perspective, not with different, and then get lost in translations, but how to keep it together.
That's right. Wow, good job. I see Miss G's hand up. Miss G, you can unmic your
yes, yourself, and then... Thank you, Byb. Oh my God, it was so interesting. Thank you very much for coming and sharing with us all this information. I really loved it. Because very often we see a lot of statues, being from Africa myself, but also living in different Western countries, we see a lot of these statues, but we don't necessarily know, their function and why they exist and to which ethnic group they really belong. Because like you said, Minkisi, okay, it's in Congo, but does it really belong to one specific group, in Congo? No, everybody.
Yeah, that's a good question. It doesn't belong to one specific ethnic group. You'd be like, it was the Nkisi Nkondi were scattered all over the Central Africa, like, what is today Angola, because the capital of the kingdom was in Angola, which is like Luanda, which is Angola today. Like many people don't know, like Angola, yes, the capital was there. And then the Democratic Republic of Congo, huge territory, and Republic of Congo, a lot of parts of Gabon and the parts of Cameroon. So, and then the practice was all over. And this is just in Nkisi Nkondi. There are many other statues out there, like, the Tumbas, the Wisdom Kiss. That's another talk. But that's another talk. But it did not belong to one specific... because it's a medicine, okay? If the medicine's there, then like, you have malaria medicine for malaria, everybody gonna use it because it cures. And then the Ngangas, the doctors got trained. So, each ethnic group needs to have their own Nganga, their own doctor, so they can be able to cure their own people by using the same vessel.
Okay. Actually, I had thank you for that. For that. I had a comment, and then I wanted to lead that to a question. So, and I'm sure you know about the Belgium Africa Museum, who's, I think, this year decided to, that particular museum has like so many arts, artifacts from Africa. I think it's worth over $60 million or euros, and I believe that a lot of them, of course, have been acquired through illegitimate ways. And so I think they decided to transfer ownership to Congo, I believe. And I think that they actually saying that they can only receive it, the Congolese people can only receive it if they actually ask for it. So my question is there a desire from the Congolese to actually require, to ask to acquire back their culture? Are they very interested in that? Do they believe in that? Do they feel like it's worth? There's a worth, a value?
Ooh, you stepping on fire. You're stepping on fire. Oh my goodness. Oh yes. Man. We have a lot of work to do. Oh wow. It's complex. It's very complex because when the mind is colonized,
yes,
it's the hardest thing to do. To decolonize the mind is the hardest thing to do. Like, when, we said Bob Marley, mental slavery is the worst form of slavery because we are in a place where, people are, Christianity is the religion. And if you have, and at the same time, people are Christian and nobody's 100% Christian. Because if someone is sick and Jesus is taking too long to bring the cure, they're gonna go see. They're gonna go see the Nganga. They're gonna go see the healer, the spiritual healer, because they need to go now.
I think there is that fine mixture, because even among like Ghana, for instance, one thing that I realized was the chieftaincy, right? So a king could do all the Akwasidai, rituals and all that. And on Sunday is Thanksgiving. And guess where they're going to do the Thanksgiving? In the church, right? So I think the cultures find some way of just merging the two. And then it's, it's like, all right for people.
Yeah. The work to do here is really reformatting the old educational system and see people can start really actually learning about themselves. So if we can give, we can have leaders who are going to say, okay, what we have in our school system, in our educational system it's enough now. There's a way to make a shift. And we have to change all those curriculum and have a great focus on African ways, African history. And that's going to allow what? It's going to allow, really making sure do we include not the Christianity or, Islam becoming the dominant religion, because once you have the religions, there is no part in the Jesus Bible, there is no place for spiritual, for the Ngangas, for the statues, the masks. And the people, like I say, if I have maybe not my dad, because my dad, he was an engineer, he was not a spiritual guy. He believed in science and, have his beer. But my mom, very Christian. I cannot have a conversation with my mom like about statues, and there is no way, there is no even a debate. It's like it closed out over there. So if you're asking people who are very Christians, who are believing in Jesus, they believing to go to Israel as the land, the promised land, they believe in going to paradise, and then you're gonna tell them, bring them this you know, you use the word artifact. I would not even use the word artifact.
I'm sorry. I mean, they're real thing.
So you use these practices back to the land. They're like, what the heck? They don't even know about it. That's the thing is, they don't even know about it. So the response, they won't even be like a really response. At least those who know about it and how many people know about it actually can create a movement, so we can actually bring this thing. People can learn about them, study them, and study them, and actually bring them to be part of the culture, so people can learn about what was, and if possible, study these practices again. Because one thing that is killing us in Africa, like we see, how come this entire continent of Africa with the coronavirus, they're not making their own vaccine? For me, I don't understand it. I'm like, why we counting on the Western world to ship a vaccine to you? Why you cannot make your own vaccine? A small country like Cuba can make their own vaccine. This entire continent, huge continent with all this intelligence we have, we cannot make our own vaccine. So that's the question right there.
You know what?
They have their own medicine. They have their own medicine. I can show you.
Yeah, it's about time we have. Okay, maybe this does not relate, but yesterday I was just thinking about something, tuition-free online university in Africa, where it's not going to be sponsored by any, outside territories, but then Africans by Africans, and then, yeah, that's probably another conversation for another time. But I think that there are a lot of things that we have to unlearn and relearn, and then we can only make ourselves better when we understand ourselves and use some of, of course, in every culture, there are good ones, there are bad ones. Of course, it happened in every culture. But then where we see the good ones, we, not modify, but make them better, maybe for lack of a better word. And because as you said before, acupuncture is all over the world. Chinese is selling their product all over the world. There are a lot of things that we can sell across the world, but we are just looking at ourselves and saying that what we are and what we have is not worth it. Let me actually go and look at somebody else and then find relevance in what somebody else's is, and then it becomes a problem to us. They are capitalizing on us, breaking down our economy, destroying everything that we have, and then we are always cap in hand going to beg for arms. And unfortunately, I don't think that will be a best way to go. Anyway, so any other question from anybody? Any other questions?
I have another question if nobody else.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so that comes to when you talk about the ritual, that was about the ritual. So you were mentioning the activation of a ritual. You were saying that they were actually putting something in the box, yes? But as part of the ritual, did they also provide medicine to the people? Did they give them something specific to take?
Sorry, I was muted. You said during the process, if they take medicine to the people who want to cure?
Yes.
Oh, in the process of the Nkisi Nkondi, no, they don't give you anything. It's all happens. It's all happen in the spiritual realm. But if they do, it will be the Nganga may ask you to say something. May ask you to give you a sentence, say a sentence, or say a word, or repeat this after me. But there's never like, giving you to consume something of, no, or drink this water. No, it happens all spiritual, particularly for the Nkisi Nkondi, unless it's a different Nkisi. Like I thought when I had my knee, when I had a problem with my knee, that was another Nkisi, but the guy, he had to chew on stuff and spat of my knee, And then he tapped on my knee with that thing a few times, and that was it. So that was the only that was the contact right there, physical contact. But with Nkisi Nkondi, there is no physical contact. The Nganga does his thing, and then you go home, and that's it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bibene, for this insightful lecture. I am more concerned about rituals and theorization because I have been for some years now. I've been researching on rituals, and one of the things that keep coming up is how to formulate terminologies to describe rituals that happen on the continent. So I just want to ask you, in as much as the word artifact is quite derogatory to, to suggest, a cultural element from our continent, what would you call, or what terminology, or how would you call this, rich heritage? How would you call it? Because I don't want to use
their names.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I said call them by their names. All right. Yeah, I'm not an expert, so but that
because
was just by their name.
The reason why I asked this question is I have visited some couple of museums in UK, in France, and the way these representations are labeled is quite I don't know which word to use, but it's sad. It's the categorizations of cultural importance in certain institutions is sad. It tends to reduce a whole, culture into a certain label, a certain, classification. And I think it is important that in as much as we think about decolonizing, decolonizing the institution, decolonizing education, decolonizing museum, we should also be thinking about how to approach these ways of decolonizing with means or with ideas about how to right the wrongs that has been done for generations.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the question. I think for me at some point I envy the cultures who are they speak in their own language and also they're writing in their own language. Like they have different scripture that is not Latin like we use, Latin words. If you're writing in China, in Chinese or Mandarin, I think Chinese is not a language, but Mandarin or Cantonese or whatever the language they have there in Japanese, in Korean, and Sanskrit and Arabic. The scriptures they're different. They know. And one of the Congolese philosophers, Kimwandende, he said, understanding the language, speaking the language, understanding the language, and writing the language gives all meaning to any studies you do. Your comprehension, how you vision the world, because language gives meaning to things. And many languages, we know you cannot translate one language into another. So when we do that process, so many things get lost in translations. And then we are talking about, this Africa is a complexity, it's the most diverse, culturally diverse continent in this planet. We have so many languages, and yet many of us, I'm sure we may speak these languages, but how well do we write our languages? Do we think in our languages? Do we dream in our languages, or are we dreaming in English? Or are we dreaming in French? Are we dreaming in Spanish or in Portuguese or whatever, in Italian? Okay, how much are we dreaming in our own languages? So if you're not even dreaming in your own language, you cannot even swear in your language, then there is already a problem there. So when we are having all the summit, I've seen like, oh, African summit, this and this, and I'm like, okay, we have this African summit, African professors, but we're still speaking English and, you know, and whatever that is. But in this particular context, I think language is important. Then that comes with vocabulary. I know these terms, but only difficulties here, I cannot use this term, otherwise I'm gonna have to find equivalency in English so I can explain. Like I say, for me, if I say Congo Cosmogram, okay, someone may understand there is Congo, there is Cosmogram, but if I have to really say it, I'll say no, it is a Dikenge Kanza Congo. And for me, it has a whole meaning. So you listen to my own voice, the sound of my voice, hearing the sound of the voice of my words, Dikenge Kanza Congo, it has another meaning versus Congo Cosmogram. My body resonates different. My body, just the sounds of the voice, you know, there you can heal the body through the sounds. But listen to the sound of my voice, listen to the word, that old phrase, it's a more powerful phrase because my body has a different reaction to it versus Congo, the Cosmogram. My body feels nothing if I say Cosmogram, but if I say Nza, or if I say Kikulu, which means Kikulu, the culture, you know, the heritage that you're talking about, Kikulu, or if I say like God, I say Nzambi, it's different. If I say the God, Supreme God, Lord, I say Kalunga, it's different. Like in many cultures, you say that, but if you really know your language, you really speak it, you really know it, you understand what I'm talking about. The saying the word in a language is different. Like we say, you know, hey, when you eat your food with your fingers, it tastes different like using a fork.
Oh, yeah.
You know that's right. Food tastes better when you use your fingers than when you use a fork.
But that is when, you know, okay, so my caveat to that will be when the food itself is prepared to be is prepared for the fingers. All right. You know, of course, when you want to talk about, you know, some food which is not really basically African, then you might have to, it's like you're borrowing somebody's food and then you have to use the resources of that person's food to eat that food. But when you're eating a typical Ghanaian or Congolese food, my God.
Yeah, in this context, in the context of Africa context, we know that's it. So I think the answer for me is about learning about the codes, you know, learning the language, learning the vocabulary, terminology that you talked about, okay? Because sometimes when I don't know. And again, since you say artifacts, for me, if someone say artifacts, it may not, but it's sounding negative to me. And it may not, because I don't have, you know, hey, I speak English, you can tell I have a huge accent right now, and I'm still learning English. So, so sometimes
we are learning.
So sometimes I get like, am I using this right or wrong in English? Am I offending somebody in English? I know if I might speak my own language, I'm not offending anybody because I have the mastery. Yeah, I can go even as a professor, I'm teaching. I'm like, hey, I have these students, they come to me, like, you know, that 2 weeks ago. This student come to the gender pronoun, it's Z, my gender pronoun is Z, Z, Z. I'm like, I cannot even pronounce it. And I'm scared to death because I know I'm going to offend you. I'm like, oh my God, I need to do a learning. I'm an old guy. I'm not.
That's right. That's right.
So there is all learning in another language, in another culture. I'm still learning that culture. So, and then how uncomfortable you get or not. But the terminologies is like for us Africans, we need to do our best to learn our stuff from our own languages and terminologies. So, thank you.
Right. You are right. Yeah, because
Luis said, oh, you have one more question?
Yeah, I'll be
back. I was just following up with what he said because language is an important aspect in developing our own terminologies. And since it has been always a challenge that we need to, especially those in the academia, that they need to understand their own culture from the Western orientation, which to me, you know, it's quite problematic.
Yeah,
you know?
because your supervisor is not within the culture. So
yeah, so
there
even
is
when you're
that
using
pressure
certain, I mean, in academia, we talk about epistemologies, and now that this is where knowledge understanding is actually being centered, because you need to understand it from the local point of view, or from the people who are practicing it point of view. You get these ideas, and then you start thinking about concepts, and then the next thing is, okay, look to the Western world to understand whatever you've gotten from the communities, which to me gives this sort of different understanding to it. Because again, pardon my choice of word, but for me, when I use artifact, it automatically, I always think about it from cultural plundering, you know, stealing objects and then labeling them as cultural object or artifact, or, you know, as a way to distinguish, you know, a culture. Because in Western world, you talk about art, and the way art is being sort of projected as something so fantastic. You know, when you talk about paintings of Michelangelo and so forth, you know, the way it's being exhibited, the way it's being spoken about is totally different when you talk about artifacts. Okay, this is a cultural artifact. This is from a tribe in Africa. And then that community is lost. A whole community that produces these philosophies, this knowledge, is just, you know, limited to artifacts. So yes, you are right. I mean, it's time that we think about promoting, because the languages are there, but, you know.
Absolutely. You know, language you talk, you know, you said the word philosophy. We gotta learn the thing, and you know, there's for the people, it was not art. You know, when we talk about Nkisi being a medicine, and then you say it's art.
you know, that is the thing. You know, someone will see this and say, "Oh wow, this is such a beautiful piece of art," and that really, it's painful, you know. Because when I see this, I immediately know that.
Yeah, wow. Because people are looking at it from the lens of what is, you know, what their scope is. So they see that as art within their circles. And so anything that they see similar to that should be an art, right?
Absolutely.
Which might not necessarily be the same. All right. Any other question? I think we almost
there was something. There was a question on the chat that say, "How about spiritual vessels?" I think the Nkisi and many other, they are spiritual. They're vessels. You know, vessels, because there is us, and there is our ancestors, and they need to speak to us. There is the medium. The medium is the nganga. Okay, and you know, the medium, intermediary, I guess that's English.
Yeah, intermediary.
Intermediary, and there is their voice through their voice, or their power through the statue, or the mask, or the items, you know, the objects that, you know, that's going to be activated. So that's what I think.
Okay. All right. Okay. So any other question?
I have another.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
It's all right.
So this one deals more with your choreography, Byb. So do you, okay, you talk about the Congo Cosmogram. I'm not sure if I totally understood it, but, you know, my question is, so when you choreograph based on that design, or, you know, that concept, do you end up with a contemporary piece or more traditional?
Yeah, that's a good question. That one to take us, oh my God, what is contemporary? You are looking for troubles. Oh man, you're looking for troubles. Well, the piece can be perceived. My work is, you know, I may call myself, my work can be contemporary. But what contemporary? Because if you look at contemporary in a sense of Western contemporary, then it's all wrong. because I've seen it. I've come to, when I came to the Western world, I'm looking at the dance class. We'll call it, this is traditional dance classes in the class.
West African. That's what they say.
West. And then I come.
I don't know what West African dance is.
And I see it. I see, like, I don't know what traditional you call it, but this is not, because I come from my village. I know how they dance in my village. But then I come here, see how they teaching it and dancing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be quiet because I don't want to be creating
an enemy of the state.
the enemy of the state. So what I see is contemporary dances in the traditional forms, probably, but you know our dances when it's traditional, the practice of it back home in Africa. It's not taught in classes, with mirrors. We dance in the community,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, go.
No, we don't do that.
In sequence of 8.
You gotta. We don't do that like that. You gotta feel the drum. You gotta feel the.
Oh
the
my
land.
God!
You gotta feel the sword. You gotta. You gotta vibrate with the people, and then you learn it. You just get there. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 6. It's not like that. So if I say that, someone gonna be offended, like, oh, this is not African. So as I say, don't look for trouble.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Yes, because I'm doing a study. It's a study of movement, a study of this, and I'm trying to bring all these elements. Definitely there will be a transformation of this movement that are inspired by the shapes of the cosmogram, and by also the shapes of the statues. But when you look at the statue or itself and study the statue, if you have to dance or move like a statue in a way, you see the nails, you see the forms, you see all of that, you see the curves of our dances. And I'm bringing those pieces together to move in a diagram, okay? The diagrams, I want to move in that diagram. There will be transformation, but I'm not departing from any other culture. I'm departing from my own culture. So we're going to call it contemporary. Okay, yes, it is. But it's within the culture. It's spirituality, because if I use solely because I know they are codified dances, like this is, I know, hey, this is Zebola, this is I'm gonna do. We have the name. You call it with dancing, or Sabah, you call it with dancing, you call it with dancing. But if we study the philosophy of Sabah, where that it came from, you study the movement, the motion, and then you want to talk about in a particular topic, theme, what you're gonna do with it, how you're gonna do it. So that becomes, what is it? Contemporary? Does it? Well, what is contemporary anyways? So that's tricky.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Any other question? I mean, I'm likely to ask you. Okay, maybe for another time. More like your experience in teaching over here with students who have had either modern forms of, Western dance styles like modern dance and ballet, and trying to break off all the code and then get them grounded, get them rounded, get them to articulate specific parts of their bodies in responding to a rhythm, because of course, when you talk about African dance, which I always tell my students that what's the eye, just imagine that the eye is sitting down and the ear is sitting down. The ear is appreciating the music. The eye cannot hear the music, but the eye can see the body. So what the eye is doing is that the eye is seeing what the music is playing. So, and the ear is just, the ear can see the movements, but it can just hear the sound. So what your body is actually doing is giving us an interpretation, a deeper interpretation of what the music is saying. Do you see that in your class when you teach?
Absolutely. I say, hey, you gotta open the eyes of the body, open the ears of the body.
That's right.
That's what I say. So my student, open the eyes of the body, open the ears or the body. It may not make sense for many, but it really makes totally sense to me.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's right. That's right.
So I do teach that, and I bring them step by step, because I remember once I was teaching a St. Mary's college, and then they bring these professors to come kind of analyze me, or grade, and kind of see my teaching and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, we're gonna be in trouble. And I'm playing this music. I'm not like, this music is foreign to you, and you are here. I'm in academia, and you want me to explain it with the codes that your vehicles, your tools. I cannot explain with your tools. And another professor asked me, what are the counts? It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and
it's understanding of the music.
It's understand music and the feeling, because I can tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, but when the drums start hitting and my body's gone,
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're not gonna see 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
When my body transcends, it's dance. There is no 1, 2, 3, 4. No. I'm gonna tell you that's to make you like, okay, in the beginning, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4. But when the drum is my body's gone. So am I gonna take you into the world where my body's gonna go? Because that needs to happen, because I am now music, and the body becomes one element. It's not dissociated. And I'm not going into the norms of the musicality, of the lyricism. I have the training. I've studied contemporary dance, the Western contemporary dance. I know that. I studied that. I've studied ballet. I'm not a ballet dancer, but I know ballet. I've studied that. I've studied all kinds of forms, and all the ballet, the contemporary schools from Alvin Ailey, Martha Graham, and all the schools of contemporary, Western contemporary, Per Premis, Catherine Dana, and I've studied all of them. I know that. I can dance that. But I always make sure, like, if we're talking the African dance context, okay, African dances, okay, that's also a thing. African dance forms, that's different. The 1, 2, 3, 4, it's out. I can just in the beginning to give you a little context, but it's out. Okay, so now I say, listen, like you said, Philip, your eyes, your eyes can see, but your ears, like that, the connection that exists between your eyes and your ears, it's really, I help you out, you help me out too, okay, and then we do this together, and then my body's there too. I see it, I feel it. And I start, come on, coming from the Congo or coming from any parts of Africa, it's since your mother home, because the bars and music, as I said, it's outdoor. It's not like we're going to the club. It's inside somewhere. We have inside too, but the bars in each school, from one block to another, you have at least 10 bars. Each bar is playing their own music, okay? And it's every day, Monday to Sunday, from January 1st to December 31st.
That's right.
Music is there, dance is there. So it's a different information for the body. Different information for the body. It's not like I'm gonna go, this is time to go to a dance class. We're going to Malonga, we're going to Odyssey School, or we're going to Lance Ballet or Alvin Ailey. The reason that it's not like that, it's not from your way to the school, you have listened to how many music, how much music you've listened to. And also it just means like, it's just a way of life. When we say dance is a way of life, it's not an understatement. It's not a cliche. Like a dance is life. Yes, it is for many of us there. If it's not lost in the big cities, it's really a way of life. It's part of us. Either it's popular dances, because we gotta be careful too. If we talk about initiatic dances, ceremonial dances, or we talk about popular dancing and music, it's a part. It's there. It's consistent, and we all know that we come from those places. For me, I remember my first Thanksgiving experience in the United States. I thought it was gonna be like a party celebration, and then the Thanksgiving came. The city went quiet. People went to their families. It was so quiet, and the people traveled. And I was waiting for the party, and there was no party anywhere, no music anywhere. And where
didn't the food surprise you? Didn't the food surprise you? You thought they were going to have like
the food
to
was
eat.
there. The food, the turkey, and then the music was simmering in the background. I'm like, I got scared. I'm like, what's going on? I mean, like nobody's really talking. Like people are talking, but the thing is not there. And I got scared. I'm like, what's going on? That was my cultural experience because I got new, when I first came here, I'm like, oh my God, the culture shock, like, oh my God, there is no party. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the movie, go watch a movie or something. but I got to learn and navigate. So again, we have to look at the context and the culture, land to land, place to place. But in the formation of dance, the body have a different education, different responses because we have these environments that we came from.
All right. Thank you very, very much. Mr. David Quay on Facebook was asking, I think you have already touched on it. He's asking a question about the nails in the sculptures. And I think you explained that the nails represented anybody who has been healed or any response to either justice or health, right, within the community. So that is that. And I'm sorry, Mr. David, because we are actually coming to the end of the program. So we are already 2 hours away.
Oh my God.
And we can't take, I actually thought it was going to be like an hour and a half or something. All right. So
you can do that. We haven't even getting started yet. Yes, of course, we gotta end. Yes.
Okay, so Philip, what is it? What you just described is about synesthesia. I don't know that word. Where a part of the body is affected by external force and the reaction from the rest of the body. I agree. Okay, all right. I think he's just responding to one of the things that you said. Sorry, Mr. Bob. Yeah, we used to call him Mr. Barbecue. It's the time difference actually messed me up, so I gave the time earlier than we thought. So we apologize for that. But before Mr. Byb goes, and Mr. Byb also has some content on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, you can check it out, like, share, so that he can get more following and more more engagement on YouTube. But you may want to share your social media handles so that if people
I may share that. YouTube, my work can be very complex. My work, if you look at it from one perspective, you're not gonna find it. You're gonna get lost. And like, oh my God, what does it exactly do?
Yeah,
I do not do one thing. I do.
Oh yeah, I know that.
But yes, you may be thrown away because you're gonna see. Oh yes, oh my God. Yeah, YouTube. We go to YouTube, but if you see work on spirituality, focus on that one. You may see also work that's very creative. You may be thrown off. So the only best.
And what is the name? What is the name on YouTube?
The name, if you look at type, you should type just Nkisi Nkondi Byb, my name, Byb Bibene, Nkisi Nkondi. Okay. Then it's gonna bring you to all my work on Nkisi. Okay, but if you just type my name, you're gonna find all kinds of work I've done anyway, internationally and here and there. So yeah, if Philip, you can just put my name and put the name Nkisi, and that would be great. And that's gonna be the easiest one. Otherwise, I'm gonna also put my my company's website, which is Kiandanda Dance Theater.com. So I put the name of my company, so you can go on my company and you can find just works and video excerpts.
Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to do that right now. Okay. Yes. And what about your Facebook?
Facebook, you can, the company Facebook is also just Kiandanda Dance Theater. Kiandanda Dance Theater, that's the Facebook, the company. Myself is Byb, but if you go on my own Facebook, you're gonna find a different thing because I'm also a financial professional.
Oh,
so
yes.
so you're gonna find dance arts because my initial studies is finance. I have went from my bachelor's in economics and master's in finance, and then I have arts, and I'm a writer. I have a few shorts and poetry. So
oh yes. So let me yeah. You are everywhere.
He's a Renaissance man.
Oh yeah, that's right. So this is his YouTube
yeah, so you go
page.
my YouTube, if you go to videos, and you can find
he has a lot of
a
content.
mix of my YouTube. I call it defines me, as I'm a city boy, grew up in the city. I'm a village boy, be in the village. I'm an international person. You can find all kinds of things, from different kinds of dance forms, from contemporary, from traditional to Afro beats, to lectures, and to many things. All right.
Oh yeah. I want to see I want to see this one. I want to see this one.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. So that's Byb. Wow, Byb in his element.
Oh, you wanna kill me.
Oh, I'm not killing you. All right. I see that.
Okay,
I see that. Anyway, if anybody wants to see more, they have to just check you out on your YouTube page. So
yes,
they can you can
go get annoyed over there.
All right. Okay, so thank you very much for this engagement. I think it's been awesome. We will keep bringing you Afrocentric content from different instructors. But if you want more details for a class, definitely reach out to Mr. Byb. And how can people reach you up on your email? Is the email address?
Yes, I'm gonna put my my email address. Byb Chanel. Let me see. Let's just say Bibene at gmail.com. Okay. That's my email address. The company's email also works. Kiandanda dance at gmail.com. That's the company's email. Valerie, actually, it's funny, Valerie, since you're on the screen, I know we talked, and actually we also exchanged contact because I have your contact in my phone.
You do?
Wow. I do. Small world. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for supporting African Live Art. Please don't forget, go to African Live Art at www.africanliveart.com. And or even just when you type on Google African Live Art. So art is without S, right? So just African Live Art. And you can get to our website. You can check up. We're still, recruiting instructors. And I know that after here, Byb is coming onto the website right now. We'll talk about that later on. So any Afrocentric content in terms of history, art forms, tourist centers, we got you covered. If we don't have it on our website, just email us at info@africanliveart.com, and we will find you the best of content that you would desire. So thank you very much again, everybody. And I would say bye-bye to everybody. Thank you.
Bye. I'll be in touch, Valerie.
Okay, great.
Brother Ricky, I'm calling you. I missed your call. I haven't